This is the main podcast. This week's guest, Watered Roots.
But anything is fine whenever you're fine. Okay. What do you mean he showed you everything?
I've been chasing this unicorn for 2 years, and I've been left unread a lot of times, but I'm like, but that's how he is, and that's the weed man. And
It's about persistence, isn't it?
dude, yeah,
Because if you got the door too easy,
Right.
the door to come in, is it really worth going in?
it shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be easy. Not like anything worthwhile that I've done, whether it was leading towards it, the Met. Like I had to wrestle for that blessing, because everybody wanted the glamour and the tip money and the bitches' phone numbers from being a tour guide. And so that was the director's way of weeding people out. He would just kind of lead you on for months and months and months, and everybody would peter out. And so that's kind of the same experience that I had with this guy. 2 years I've been, DMing. I've been trying to, in a way that's not disrespectful or too forward.
Yeah.
And then, dude, he opened up the door, and just fucking biggest smile on his face. Reed was there.
I was hoping to get him back, or we talked a little while ago. I was hoping to get him back to do, like he mentioned something about doing podcasts.
Who?
And I think
Eric?
I told you that we had talked for maybe nearly 2 hours on mic, and then it was over, and then we hung out for another 3 hours off mic. I was
So
like,
you were a good
fucking
dude.
right,
Kerry's a good dude. They
dude.
both said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
They enjoyed it too, man. They were still talking about it.
Were they really?
Yeah, just now. Yeah.
Cool. So,
Yeah.
and he did mention something about it maybe about a month ago, because dude's unrightfully taking a lot of shit. But when I go around and I talk to people who are either store owners or other cultivators and people like that, and,
Right.
and custies who know him, not a bad word to be said by anybody, not one thing. So all of that shit comes from someplace else.
The man is.
You know that.
He loves what he does.
Yeah.
Dude, from the minute he opened the door, he loves what he does. He was so excited to show. He was so proud. That's what I told him. Like, this is fucking pride. He built that shit himself, and it's a place to do work. He's gonna take. I don't know if they're actually gonna do it, but he said he was planning tonight to take his crew out for axe throwing. It's
Oh
a
yeah,
place
it's
in Portland.
here in. Oh yeah.
And I'm
Okay.
like, yo, these nerds don't deserve to know that. But I almost wish they did know that. That this guy is a human, and he's a really cool fucking guy. He posted that thing on Instagram where the greatest trick other level ever played was that he's actually a really nice guy. And it's like, yeah, but if you're an asshole and you're disrespectful, and I think one of the things that I've learned from you, from a lot of the great men in weed and women in Maine, is that it's not about disrespecting that person. It's you're disrespectful to the history of this thing, and you're disrespectful to the office of the weed man. And who the fuck are you to like imagine 20 years ago, because the weed guy had some crazy conspiracy theory that he shared with you being like, oh, now I'm not going to support you. Like, it would never happen.
Yeah, it would have never
It's
happened.
only because the shit becomes accessible.
Access
Right.
changes everything.
Like tattooing, man. People go in, they used to be scared. And it used to be whatever the tattooer felt like tattooing that day, that's what the fuck you were getting. And if you didn't like it, get the fuck out. If it was some Sailor Jerry shit, that's what you were going to get. And now, it's custom, and now it's so accessible and so like, I guess it seems so harmless now and so mainstream that people go in there and they want to see the artist's portfolio before they think about letting him tattoo on their skin. And I'm like, dude, you don't fucking get it, man. That you're missing out half the experience because you're disrespecting the culture. And like the people that come up here from Mass, mostly, or the nerds on fucking Reddit, I've told you this before. Like, you got to see fucking Salty come out the door. You got to see other level. You got to see the guy. He gave you the box.
Yeah.
And maybe he told you some bullshit that you didn't like, but you missed the whole fucking point.
Yeah.
That you got to meet the guy.
The alternative to meeting those people who followed through with what they wanted, that I don't want to use such a strong word as like empire. They followed through with a goal in their life, and they wanted to be able to, one, be businessmen, but two, share like a passion that they have. You're willing to trample on it, just to fucking trample on it, because you might not agree with either politics, or you might not like their product, or you think like they need to adjust to your likings in life. People have got to fucking stop thinking that way, because that's more harmful than anything else that's going on. You're stifling the creativity. And we've talked for a little while before here about creativity, about whether it's writing or painting or. I mentioned Henry Miller. For me, it was the eye-opening moment I had for literature, and I talked a little bit about painting. I'll get to that one quicker. Just because we talked about, like, if you're going to pick up the chicks, go to the Impressionist area.
Hell yeah.
That was my first introduction to, like, art. Well, the same thing. And I think that's that surface level entryway.
Right.
Is like that what's most accessible to you. Then you start going deeper. You start looking for something that's beyond that. With literature, I had studied like British writers from the 18th and 19th century, and it was kind of boring shit. I mean, it was good, well written, of course.
Chaucer? I don't know anything about. I just know like Chaucer.
Yeah, it was. Well, he was just one of them. Got into a couple different. It wasn't until I got into like philosophical readings or writings, and into works that were off the beaten path. So Henry Miller was one of those writers off the beaten path. Dude wrote about his fucking daily life, how he ate stale bread with bad butter over at somebody else's house because he didn't have any food at his place.
Oh, shit.
And then he was screwing his neighbor's girlfriend, even though his girlfriend's back home and stuff like that. But yet he would fuse this into like a rant for like 10 pages where he throws in literature of mythological proportions all within it.
Great.
And then he said, and I hate that guy's work too. I'm like, this guy's like, if there's anything about him, he's fucking honest as shit. And he doesn't care. He knows he's imperfect, and he could give a fuck less about being imperfect because he was comfortable doing what he did, who he was. Did that guy, Henry Miller, kind of trample on people along the ways? Yeah, he probably did. But he was also living street side too, or living day to day. So survival was what mattered most to him.
That's the whole thing.
And enjoying every moment of survival.
I took from, I'm going to plug Nicholas Brower on here too. He put me onto that Rousseau quote that the savage man lives within himself, and it's basically a nerd that's worried about what the fuck other people are thinking about. And I've been on thinking about like Diogenes a lot, and I've been telling everybody this.
Would you say Diogenes?
Diogenes, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit? I don't know that.
So this man felt that true freedom was living like a wild dog, and so he would do I might be adding details, but the story is the same. Right.
Yeah.
That basically the dude was like shitting in public. He was jacking off in the streets. And people thought he was a crazy man, but he was making a point that he was fucking free. And he walked around with this bowl for food, but then he realized that was keeping him from really true freedom because he was beholden to this fucking bowl to eat. And he got rid of that shit too. So dude's living like a wild dog. Alexander the Great hears of this guy and he gets it. Alexander the fucking Great gets what this guy's on. And so he goes, pays him a visit, brings the whole fucking army or whoever he brought, and he wants to give him a gift. And he's expecting Diogenes to be like, oh shit, Alexander the Great, thank you so much.
Be something
right.
Highly blessed. Yes.
He's laying down on the ground. Alexander says whatever to him, like, yo, man, I've heard about you. You're a great man. I just came here to pay my respects, and I came here to give you a gift. What would you like? And the dude looks up at him, and he's like, get out of the way. you're blocking my son. And fucking Alexander the Great was so impressed with that, according to the legend. He was not offended. He like I'm adding this part to it. That I imagine he must have shaken that man's hand even more vigorously, because he got it, man. That like this guy gets what life is about, and that's true freedom, man.
Yeah.
What you're saying, like, you know, that you're not worried
true
about what the
freedom
fuck
of it. Yeah,
other
right.
people are thinking about, and that's when you're really honest.
When Alexander the Great became the all-powerful, who spoke to him like that anymore?
Exactly. That's what I'm always talking about. That like, it must be annoying as shit if you're a famous person for everybody to be all fucking weird around you.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't hang out with people like that. They hang out with people that are like, hey, what's up, George? Like, you know, they treat you like a regular person. Diogenes, you know, he was free from all of that. Like, I don't give a shit who you are, bro. Like, that means I'm not free. I've been on some bullshit about being on a hot air balloon, and all these things are sandbags, and everybody's got their own, you know, sandbag that's heavier, that's weighing them down and holding them down here. Some people never get, like, they never see them, they never think about it that deeply. Some people love their fucking sandbags, and I'm
To the point of
finally
never lifting off.
yeah, that they're like, no, this is nice, man. I'd rather stay down here. But I'm like, no, eventually, I think I'd like to get rid of all the sandbags and see what's up there, man. If there's anything, and if not, well, whatever. You know, at least I went.
How far along are you on the sandbags? Have
Just
you just
starting
lifted
out,
the
man.
first one off?
Oh,
Or two?
I've lifted a few off.
Yeah.
Religion, DX, money. Like, obviously, I still need it, and it's important to me, but it's not something that controls me. And that's why even with the business, I make it a point to take losses. I love that shit. That people snap their fingers and, can you be here in 20 minutes? I'll give you an extra 20. And first of all, no, because of what I'm talking about. But second of all, what the fuck do you think I'm doing? The 20 minutes is going to get me to like run out the door and come to you. You must think that this is not a real thing. So I find it like a little bit disrespectful, but sometimes I do take a loss.
You value your time, but you value the integrity of.
That's what it is.
That's
Integrity.
what it is.
Integrity. Because sometimes I do take bigger losses, and I do think about, like, man, maybe I should have thought that one through. But I'm like, but what would have been the thing that would have made me think that through more? That would have changed the way that I usually am.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been the money. So then I'm beholden to it. I just needed to be free, man. Like, this is just about freedom for me. As long as I've got money to stay free, like, I don't care about it. But women are my biggest sandbag, and I'm okay with that right now. But I realized that, like, I gotta let that shit go, you know, eventually. And I'm learning to, you know, like, carve out a time for them, you know, not to let, like, oh, I met this chick and I'm gonna cancel everything tonight anymore.
Yeah, right.
Like, no, I'll see you Sunday when I'm free. And if that doesn't work for you, then, you know, I move on.
hate thinking this way, or maybe it's there's a certain independence about being able to do what you want when you want.
Yeah.
And sometimes a relationship, or sometimes the idea of trying to set something up because you're sweet on somebody or whatever, takes way. Now all of a sudden you've got to restructure and sacrifice.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
good.
you got to almost like evaluate, like, is that sacrifice worth it? Like, am I becoming, or am I trying to do something different that I'm not too crazy about?
Right. Dude.
And I don't mean anything by it, because relationships are important for everybody,
Yeah.
whether it's a loving, like, intimate relationship in a physical way, or just a getting to know somebody. It's all value. It all has good quality human value for us. But I don't know. The reason why I said I hate thinking, like, sometimes if I feel like it impedes on something in my life.
Dude. So Nicholas Brower. And then I'll have a more vulgar example.
Please.
But Nicholas Brower was telling me that he also runs social experiments, and I love that because I think of myself that way all the time. Even with my Instagram bullshit, I'm running social experiments to see what people will do, if they'll fall for the trap, if it'll lead to sales. So he's telling me, as he's explaining the window into Armageddon itself, this couple walks by the window. He's like, watch this. The husband always stops because he sees something shiny in the window and he wants to come inside. And the wife is always tugging away because that looks fucking expensive. And so she got her way in this round, and they walked off. And he says he sees that scene play out like 6-7 times a day. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That it is an impediment. And I'm like, if I were ever to do that shit again, like marriage or live with somebody, have a child with somebody, you gotta let me be me, man, completely. And I hope that I'm like mature enough to be able to reciprocate. But I don't know, man. That's
It seems so natural for a different generation of us, I suppose, or were they just like seeing
mean?
the world differently? Well, for instance, I'll use like my parents. 50 years, 60 years is what they're coming up on in marriage. I gotta believe there were a ton of sacrifices
definitely,
on both parties.
definitely.
Yet their union and their love for one another is so much greater than I think I'll ever understand.
Yeah.
I was married once before, though we had really good times together, and there was a lot of like dropping veils. That's another too. Tom Robbins, if you ever get the chance to read any Tom Robbins, Skinny Legs and All is an amazing book. And I mention that because veils.
Tom Robbins, Skinny Legs and All.
But these veils that kind of continue to drop off, and like, I don't want the world to change so much that we forget to know how to love each other. But maybe it's more that we just need to have that appreciation for each other, and how deep it goes, how involved on a one-on-one end. Well, that's all up to us to determine what that is, I guess. But I'd rather search for. I shouldn't say I'd rather. I'd like to continue to search for those greater other loves that we can experience through the course of our life. For me right now, it's my boy.
Yeah. I see
seeing
it, man.
the world the way he
see
sees
it.
the world and being a part of it. Yeah, it's
Dude,
really cool.
I see
man.
it through your fucking Instagram posts. Your love for that boy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. I don't throw too much up on there anymore.
No, I know, but I was like, that's a fucking dad
Yeah.
who's been thinking about some shit because his son's in that situation. And dude, I fucking respect that a lot, man. I've learned. I know I don't see
It's
it
different.
but I've learned about fatherhood from you, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for that. It's new for me too. I mean, really, it is. Everybody, there's no playbook whatsoever. There's shit that
Yo,
I've
that's
said and
fucking
things
crazy.
that I've done in reaction or thinking was the right path.
Yeah.
I got no fucking idea.
You're doing your
But
best.
when it's all said and done, every night it's "I love you, boy," and
Cool, man.
and just the reciprocation of that to see this growth to becoming a different kind of individual, somebody new in the world. I have hopes for him, but first and foremost, I hope he enjoys life.
Dude, that's
That's
beautiful.
the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So whatever he finds that's going to help him enjoy life, if it's positive, if it's creative and explore, there's some exploratory facets to it. That's all I could ever want for somebody. So for him, that's what I want the
great.
most. So if he plays baseball and he's second base, that's what it is.
That's cool, man.
You said something a minute ago, the things that you've learned that you're letting go of. You said religion.
Oh yeah.
Yet you come off as a very spiritual person. A different,
Yeah.
but in an untraditional or traditional or what's
I don't know,
wanna
man,
get
like-
into, like I know like a little bit of your background, and that's not necessarily. Is that what you're talking about? Past beliefs or current?
Kind of all of it.
Yeah.
I was getting tattooed by Mikey Perfetto. He did my hands, gave me a manicure the other day. He did this and he did the holy roller on my back. And he was saying like he goes to church, but he's read the Bible cover to cover 3 times, so he knows basically when they're talking bullshit.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm on right now, you know, where I'm going back to like, dude, every day. I don't know if it's because of the shrooms, scriptures just flood my head, and maybe because that's the way that I market, you know,
Yeah, it is.
Watered Roots.
Yeah.
That I am always thinking for marketing purposes. I don't know if it's a blending of the two or, you know, what's going on.
I think it's a blending of the two.
But yeah, I'm like
It's gotta
thinking of scriptures all day, and I'm finding application to me, and I'm like twisting it and I'm bending, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't care what the witnesses said about it. This is what, like I was telling you about the 144,000. They have their own version of it. But I like to run with the idea, and it gives me something to aspire to. But like, I don't know.
Is it
what-
more spiritual? It's more
Yeah.
like you need to find it now. Like reading how other people interpret it for you or pass it along to you, and then I think there's a moment when you start becoming some more. The level of our thinking from, say, like when we're 18 to 28 to 38 to 48, hopefully you're gaining wisdom. Hopefully you're gaining new insights. If you're not, maybe it's just you're gaining a new perspective because you're at a different point in your life. So it could be a little bit of that too, right? Like a better, truer understanding of how it applies to
right.
you in this moment.
Right. I'm not used to being spoon fed anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been out in the world now, and yeah, I've seen how it actually plays out in real life. So yeah, maybe that you're right.
You're not spoon feeding anybody.
I mean, on fucking Instagram, I tried to.
Yeah, all day long,
Dude, it's fun, man, and people get mad, and I laugh, dude. It makes me like,
A little bit of an alter ego.
yeah, it is an alter ego, and people don't fucking get that, dude. I've got this fucking guy that I used to. He admitted it. I posted it that the reason why he's told me he got all gay on me, and he was saying like, if it wasn't for you, the same like I got gay on you earlier.
Yeah.
And then he all of a sudden he cut me out, blah blah blah. I posted a meme because he did it the wrong way. I'm never gonna, you know, if somebody can give you a better price, like, yeah, that's fucking free country, man. That happens, but there's a way to do it, and you know, if you want to have a conversation, you know, that'd be nice. Like, you know, that's how it would be, and I would never. But I'm happy, dude. I enjoy this. Why would I cut you out, man?
Yeah. I hear you.
And you know, I like to think that for the people that I think are deserving of it, you know, I try to do that for them too.
You have a lot of people who are. Well, what do you get for feedback off of those who are people who you end up meeting up with, who are followers of your page, who are patrons?
I mean, I guess the ones that I have hung out with, like, they're cool. They get it. They get it. That like, yeah,
That must
it's
turn into
bullshit.
conversations for you.
Yeah.
Throw you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or more.
Yeah.
Some a lot more, I'm guessing.
It's brought some people out of the shells. It's made some people feel comfortable sharing things with me during the last few years that they wouldn't probably share in the workplace. And dude, people have been living in the metaverse. I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
And you know, like, Instagram is their source of information, so people are always like, I'm one of those people that's always joking about how, like, you know, and you're gonna change it with an Instagram post, but now it's like, well, yeah, you can change. I've seen it. It leads to real sales. You post something and immediately the messages come through. Like, that's for real, dude.
Yeah.
And how the government has been using this shit, and how people are all fucking crazy in every direction.
Absolutely.
Of whatever spectrum, they've lost their shit, and it's because of through Instagram, through fucking social media and the internet.
How's it get found? How do we find it? Do we have to depart from it? Is that the best break?
I don't know, man. I don't
Like, I
have
was
those
telling-
answers.
I
I'm
was
just doing
telling
it for
somebody-
myself, man. I just disconnect from it, man.
Sure,
I don't
yeah.
believe in this shit. This is against my
You live in
religion.
the physical world.
The real world, yeah. Yeah, I'm running in the opposite direction of the metaverse. I'm telling everybody.
Hopefully, well, I would hope that a lot of people will. I would hope that there be this
But like,
revolution against.
to me, the
This
big
offering.
ruse is that it's new and it just got here and it looks all pixely and like some old video game. And what I think that's part of the ruse to convince us that we haven't been living in the metaverse. Like, no, we've been in it for like 15 fucking years, 20 years. Like, whenever the fucking internet and MySpace started, like, that was the metaverse. And people live their whole lives around this shit, you know, to the point that they see your alter ego on fucking Instagram and they want to destroy your business. That's what I was just talking about with Eric.
Yeah.
They don't fucking know this guy. He's the fucking nicest guy, man, and he loves weed.
Yeah.
He's, you know, his love is pure for it, and that should be the only thing that matters.
Yeah, we don't celebrate that. We try and tear it
Right,
apart.
because he says some shit and he likes to rub it in, you know, and he's just like that. These people can't identify with the idea of don't tell me what the fuck to say or do.
Yeah.
That's fucking scary, man. Like, you might disagree. You know, I've seen posts from a lot of cultivators that I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far, but dude, you're the fucking weed man.
Yeah.
So whatever.
I'd rather look like how many stores with say in Maine, or probably you could go beyond that. Anyways, I would have to assume that they're the same. Cannabis stores or any kind of business is so generically fucking like nothing. Like they tried and true. I mean, they might try and give you. They might try and give you like some fun or some interest in it or whatever, but it's not real. That is like a metaverse type of rendition of what the world can become.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to need quote unquote bricks and mortar anymore. We're not going to need that type of that interaction that happens. There was a story that somebody told me. It was that happened during COVID, and there was this old guy who went to the post office every day and picked up his mail.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and he'd
Nobody
go
does
there.
that anymore except
He was
guys.
old. He was somewhere in like his 80s, 90s.
And me.
What's
my
that?
PO box.
Yeah, PO box. Somebody said, you know, hey, we could easily drop this off at your house. You got a mailbox and everything's good, and save yourself the trip. He said, why would I want to save the trip when I have a chance to encounter something that I didn't the day before? People don't think of that anymore, do they? They don't think of that like that moment that you're going to cross paths with somebody and have. You were, hanging out with Eric for about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, something like that?
Dude, what a blessing. And I didn't have
What
my
an
phone on
opportunity.
me.
And I don't mean like just Eric, but yeah, it was probably definitely like a great experience.
Yeah,
Just
man.
anytime we take that.
And
Have that moment.
you know, I got shit to do. I eventually want to get home, but you know what a privilege, dude. And this guy's showing me the fuck around me.
Yeah.
Like, and I've been chasing this unicorn for 2 years, and he greeted me like I was fucking royalty. And
And you're just a person.
cool. I'm just a guy, man.
Yeah.
And he's fucking cool as shit. Reed was there from Hiker Trash. You know, we're shooting the breeze, and Krista, I think. I hope I got that right. She was trimming in the background, and you know they're talking about going to throw axes in Portland tonight. And you know, people don't get that, and it's funny to me that we've talked about this before. That to me, they want to be the weed man. They weren't cool in high school. They're only cool today because they can afford to buy cool, whether it's through weed or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And so they want to occupy the fucking office.
Oh, right.
But because they have this like moral high ground that they take with just the weed man, whether it's his markup or what he posts on social media, or whether, you know, they're taking safety precautions, whatever. I have these people complaining about my markups, and from the same Reddit fucking account that they have, they're talking about being sneakerheads. and picking up $1,000. And I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
there's a hypocrisy here,
very much.
and it's just because you're jealous. But this is the way that you can seem like you're finding moral fault in me, but you just want to be me, dude. That's all it is.
When there's pressure that happens from, say, like a group, we might as well single out Reddit because we've been talking about it, but when you have a group like Reddit that tries to dictate rules, dictate protocol, dictate what's correct and what's incorrect, aren't we now, especially towards cannabis, but not exclusive, I'm sure, are we running the risk of allowing ourselves to be in all facets of life continue, if this path continues to be muted in general and not share these things? Because it creates that bump. It creates that that interaction that some, I don't know if they even don't find it interesting or don't find it amusing or don't understand it. Is it just we've become too splintered and not knowing one another, or not, or do we need to really know each other? We don't all need to know each other. Are we trying to all think that we can live together and somebody wants to have some sort of say in control where they really shouldn't have any say or control? They can always backtrack and they can say, well, I'm the consumer. Or I know because I've been buying all kinds of bud all the time. Where's the misunderstanding? It's not really about product, is it? It's not.
No, like, and to me, there's like, there's really a spiteful quality to all of those posts. Like, they can't wait to have the opportunity to take a screen grab. Like, if you were a man about your shit, you would talk it out with the manager or whatever if there was a legitimate issue, and let them make it right. That's how fucking decent people interact with each other.
Yeah.
But it's only one of these fucking nerds, for whatever reason. I think it comes from jealousy. And it's, dude, they started a fucking delivery service. Anybody who's on that thread knows who the fuck I'm talking about, and I have no issue against this person. But the minute that they get to play, they fucking scoop that opportunity. How many of those nerds have asked me for a fucking job that are now shitting on me and telling people don't support resellers? That begged me for a job and told me I would like to do what you're doing because they feel like there's nothing to it. And they don't get to play, and they use their excuse that they've married or they got kids or whatever the fuck. It's like, no, bro, you couldn't do it. And you can take the moral high ground by saying, yeah, well, it's illegal. Well, you're coming from Mass too, right? And you're picking up the limit at every dispensary?
Yeah.
Oh, and you're picking up for friends too. Oh, and you're smoking for free sometimes. Oh, so what is it? Oh, and it's always some bullshit. And like, dude, there is a real war with the state going on.
Oh, yeah.
In weed, and you're investing your energy into, what the growers' Instagram posts are about, or that somebody might be making money on the side. Like, dude, this is fucking weed. These are the last cowboys left, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And these guys pride themselves on being OGs and remembering the past, and it's like, dude, what are you on about? That you're like smoke according to the rules.
There's a lot of stories that could come out that happened even prior to stores opening up. When you mentioned like Last Cowboys, I think to myself that I wasn't a part of that. I mean, not really, not like these other guys. The people who have been doing this for decades.
Right.
So I have I respect it in that I respect it more that they were willing to break. They were. I don't even want to call it break the rules or break the law or whatever like that. They were doing it because that's what they wanted to do.
Right.
And that was a life that was offering them either the same way where they could stop thinking about money, but it hasn't always been glorious either.
Right.
It was more about they were able to live each day and each week in a therapeutic and methodical lifestyle that fit. Maybe it was simplicity, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was all about the dollar, maybe it wasn't, but it involved facets of all of those categories for them to go further with. So now, and I've remarked this to a couple different people, I won't throw their names out, but it's come up a little bit more. Remember when this was fun? Because it was a little bit more cowboy, and not because it was like illegal, but more because there was a greater appreciation for one another because we were all in this together doing this thing that we were drawn to for whatever reason it was.
Right.
We knew each other and we did it together. And like now it's business. The worst thing that can happen in life is when you stop having that love for what you're doing on a daily basis, whether it's work or in life, or whatever. How are you spending your hours? You lately, you've gone into more artistic undertakings or creative undertakings. Maybe for other people, it might be like piano. It might be that painting. It might be reading. It might be just hanging out outside when they haven't been hanging out outside for a while, and they get their time for themselves in a project. It could be gardening, but it doesn't have to be cannabis. Just gardening or fixing up their house. These things that we do that have meaning, that give you like a worth too when it's accomplished, or even through the process, and a greater understanding and insight about life, about who we are, what we're looking for. I think you're finding that, aren't you? You've talked about that. And that never changes, though. You're probably going to still continue to be on that search. It's a lifelong thing, dude. I feel like
I'm writing my book, man. I started my book.
There were different times in my life when I felt like a monk or a holy man or something like that.
Yeah.
Not where I was trying to influence other people,
Right.
but I was on this own journey within to find something deeper. And I can't say like it's finding a meaning in life because that's not it. But the more like you learn things and you read old writers as well, and then you have your own interpretation of something that happens in life, that's what I want. Those moments are what I want. I am thankful to Evan for podcasting, for getting me into doing podcasting, because it's sort of like bartending in that I got to talk to a lot of people who would have never given me the time of day in what they do outside of them being their bartender. Once you're their bartender, you could talk to them and you can find out shit in their life that they don't even know they're giving up, or they do, but they want to share it. And the same with me, but you usually let them. And so many good stories, so many different, like, to me, you can tell when you're being bullshit when you know there's honesty in it. Both happen.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it? You know that too. You know that through your interactions with a lot of different people. So you know when to call bullshit on something and exclude it or not pay attention to it. But you know when to go closer, to maybe almost get burnt. You've done that lately, haven't you? And you've been doing that. That's the way to live, isn't it?
Yeah, man. It's very present, man. I'm not worried about what's going on in the fucking world. I mean,
Would that be the best advice to give to anybody right now?
yeah, dude. If you didn't have that fucking phone on all the time, you wouldn't fucking know and you wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And honestly, if we're being honest, I'll sound like an asshole, but nobody gives a shit, really. They're just doing it for virtue signaling or because everybody else is doing it and I don't want to seem like an asshole, so let me post this, but nobody's heart's really in it. Like,
No.
your energy's being wasted. It's being harnessed. This is a fucking social experiment that these fuckers are running. Who knows what's going on over there? And if you didn't have a fucking TV and a phone, you wouldn't give a shit. And that's life, dude. That sucks, but that's life, man. That's how it's always been.
I've found myself departing and living in a little bit more of a balance. But do we have to understand, is it an all or nothing?
No, and I thought about what you said earlier about the relationships, right? Because I'm an extreme case. I don't know if a lot of people can, make the space in their life for the shit that I'm on to get to freedom. So no, you know, like not everybody can
Not
just
for everybody.
turn it off. Like
Entry's
so,
not easy.
right. I'm talking about if you really want to be free, which is the shit that I'm on. But most people probably wouldn't be able. It's very fucking, you know, all the things that I do, man. I have a PO box. I'm 30 years old, and you know I've missed fucking appointments because my shit gets. But I'm like, no, I'm disconnecting from everything, and I have to go pay shit in person, and they make me jump through all these hoops because they're trying to funnel me into the metaverse and the digital bank currency and everything. But
You're
yeah,
a one-man show.
yeah, and I
So
know
you
that
have to be aware and attentive to just about anything and everything that occurs.
I'm just like a nut
Just
about
aware.
that. Yeah, I'm just aware, and I'm the kind of person that, you know, I can't just watch the documentary and it doesn't fucking change my life, dude. You know, I watch it and I'm like, fuck. You know, I can't just ignore that.
Yeah.
I guess that's because the way that I was brought up in the cult. You know, you were supposed to make the application.
Cult being the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, like you were supposed to make the application in your life for real, not just see that it was a nice point or practical wisdom, you know. But yeah, most people, I'm crazy to most people, man.
Yeah, but to some you're not. You're not even close to being crazy.
Oh,
You're
dude,
like,
I think
you're
I'm
a
pretty
homie.
fucking lucid,
You're a
man. Yeah, but you know,
Isn't that the world we are in?
yes, yeah. And that's even biblical, man. And that's the kind of shit that I'm thinking about. I'm not saying that I subscribe to it necessarily, but I'm like, yo, Isaiah did say that they would say that, you know, up was down and dark was light, and the world is fucking upside down right now.
It is. Only on the metaverse.
Right. In real life, people are
If
fucking
I,
great.
If I felt like I could totally blow it off, but yet in the last few years, this idea, this restriction, and the only application it really had was the idea that people were willing to put on masks, and that influenced the world more than anything. Now, of course, we got to deal with bullshit, you know, false hikes and everything from energy to food to whatever.
Right.
So, unfortunately, what's happening on the metaverse is hitting us in that way too.
Right.
But it's played there. The
Yeah.
theater is right there, on a day in and day
Yeah.
out. What I think needs to happen is not only like this. It can't be just a passive allowance for this to exist and say I'm not going to pay attention. What else can we do? Because I keep thinking that in some ways,
Okay, I like that.
and it's a little bit daring and damning to think or to say, but in some ways we need to part our society away from what's being given to us as this gift of technology. We almost need to fight for individual liberties again, where we're not doing that at all. Not even fight in the same context of how they say the battle needs to be fought, because they're creating the rules
Right.
for how we're supposed to
Yep.
fight for our right to not wear a
Gotta
mask,
go
or
through
to
them.
not get a vaccine, or
Yeah.
to
You gotta ask them permission.
You got to ask their permission. Why? Why do we have to ask their permission?
That's what I'm saying. Why? Who the fuck are they? They're just some people. I was on fucking Roosevelt Island. I'm doing a delivery. First time client, and I'm looking at this church. I never go to Roosevelt Island. I used to photograph for picture day for kids. And there's this beautiful church. People are outside. I'm blasting Johnny Cash. I feel badass.
What Johnny Cash? Which one? What's that
Belshazzar.
area? Huh?
It was, I think, one of the first albums.
Oh, was
I'm
it?
just going through the whole anthology. You know?
are you?
And,
Okay.
And it was Belshazzar, and he's talking about, you know, when the writing was on the wall in Babylon. It's a fucking dope song. You've been weighed in the balance and been found wanting. And so this, like, Roosevelt Island cop, he's not a city cop. He's just like the security for that place.
Yep.
He points, he didn't say anything. He was just looking at me. I didn't see his lips part. And so I just looked at him and I kept the music loud until I saw his lips move. And then I turned down the music. And he was like, "You're in a spot." And I'm like, "Okay." I'll leave eventually. I'm like, I'm not leaving, man, because and it's not an ego thing. It's not a toxic masculinity thing. It's who the fuck are you? You're just some guy in a fucking uniform. And because you drove in on that car and some fucking sign that somebody put up there that wasn't there before, that's such a fucking con. You have no real authority. So I blew him off. Anyway, like I left after I made my delivery. But I'm like, the dude went back to his car with his tail tucked between his legs, and I'm like, dude has never had that interaction. Nobody's ever been like, yo, you're just some guy, calm down. Like, I'm leaving in a minute. It's just a sign. Relax. Yeah. Everybody's like, well, the sign says. Like, dude, we've been conditioned this way since our fucking first stage in school.
The conditioning, yes.
You know, I was doing the school photography gig. You know, I was assembly line photography. And I noticed everywhere that this is fucking prison training. These kids have no fucking dignity anywhere. They're being yelled at from the second they get in the fucking auditorium. Sit down. Be quiet. Over there. Oh, because you were fucking loud, you were going to go last out of the auditorium. And it's like, dude, like, and so when are these kids
set
ever...
those rules all of a sudden like that? I get it. Disruptions. There needs to be a certain amount of order to the world in order for the world to exist, to be. Would you agree with that?
Yes. But if you're always like yelling at people, you know, to enforce that order, those people, I mean, the majority of them, I guess, because I don't know if that's through conditioning or if that's just human nature, are going to go along with it.
Yeah.
But it's like, but dude, that is... the whole concept of authority, it's fucking immoral.
It's an easier path to be obedient.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
It really is.
Yeah, I'm always getting into some shit that I really don't want to get into.
Yeah, you are.
Just because I'm like, no, that's crazy, man. You don't see it, but you're out of control, man. Like, people that say you have a problem with authority always are the fuckers that have the problem with authority. Who says that? It's somebody that's like, yo, I have the badge and you need to do what the fuck I say. You're just some guy like me, man. And people don't fucking think that way anymore. I feel like I feel like Americans used to think that way. I don't know if that's just some dream that I have.
Yeah, right. I don't know if it's dream or not anymore.
That's also some bullshit that we were sold. But I'm like, yo, Americans used to not, like, don't tell me what the fuck to do was our whole thing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, authority, what do we do here? Somebody come tell me what to do. Come tell me what to think. And it's like, dude, that's why people are so fucked up. And that's why they're so dependent on this shit. And they can't just go out. But,
yeah, I've heard a lot of people. I've had a chance to travel and be in different countries, and I don't give a shit. Like, I was in other countries. Not... in some sense vacationing, but backpacking. So I was living pretty good, or not pretty good, but it's the same kind of thing where you're traveling from town to town, and I go to a hostel.
La dolce vita.
You know what I mean? And I did the same thing around America. Like, I backpacked, I drove around America. So I was in a car, because you have to be in a car because it's not very well conceived that way, where travel's easy, and you'd always end up into cities. So it's not always about the enjoyment of a city. It's about the towns or the areas that are around those cities, the nature end of things. To be honest with you, that was really kind of cool too. Hidden bookstores and coffee shops where people hung out, bars, galleries.
Real neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's where you get the flavor for the people. And it was very much the same, but it was always like locale different. And that was really kind of cool because you'd encounter so many different personalities. And sometimes those people were people you wish you knew for a longer period of time in life. Sometimes you're like, fuck, that was, I wish that would have never happened, But it did, and you remember it and you learn something from it.
Spice of life,
who cares? Man. Yeah, the spice of life. So I've always been sort of drawn to not knowing what happens next. Like with bartending, it's a different group of people, different conversation, different shit that happens every night.
That's what you're doing.
You're still just pouring drinks. Yeah. Where I did
you seem to enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, I do. I like it because I'm not knocking I'm over at the Eagles Club and I'm bartending a few nights a week. I started off like with one day of training, and then every bartender was sick or injured or whatever.
Baptism by fire, man.
Yeah, baptism by fire. And so it wasn't like the process of doing the bartending. Like it was knowing where they put shit because I'm only one day in. Well, okay, so that stuff you had to
Right.
figure out like the protocol. But everything else was just easy, like talking to these people, hanging out with these people, hearing their stories about whether they got drunk or whether they judo chopped somebody in the throat years ago or whatever it is, or how their business is doing, whatever.
Yeah.
Or if they hate working for the man. But it's all of that. It's all of that rolled up in one. And you never know from Tuesday to Wednesday what that shit's going to be. That's what I like about it.
That's cool, man.
Slinging the drinks is slinging the drinks. That was my saying at one
That's
point.
fun,
Slinging
dude.
drinks and painting bitches. What do you think of that, dude?
I like
Can you relate?
I can relate, man. I feel that deeply in my soul.
Yes, you should. Chase that feeling. Like, chase that. Have it while
That's
it's
great.
there. Because, I shouldn't say because, but in years from now, it might be the same
Right.
kind of passion, but it might be directed in different it might be for some different purpose or different directions.
Dude,
That's what I've learned in my 50 plus years in the world. And doesn't mean I'm smart. Doesn't mean any of that shit, but
nah,
when
you've
you
been
get
through things,
exposure
man.
to it,
Yeah, you've been through things.
yeah. And what better way? I don't go around saying like, I've had trauma about something, this or that. No, that shit was bad. I'm going to move on or I'll recover and then I'll move
Right.
on, whatever it is. But when that shit's good, that shit's fucking good.
Yeah, man. I've been running with some feel my oats, like marketing on my shit. Feel your and then, like everybody do, like feel your oats, man. Like don't fucking worry about what the nerds are thinking. The savage man lives within himself. And like, dude, you only get one shot, and at the end, you know, like I tell this story. I took my mom to Israel.
You did?
And yeah, I've been twice. I took her the one time.
Why were you drawn to going to Israel?
Dude, because I was raised with that shit.
Yeah.
Man. I lived the stories. I knew them by heart, and you know, and
It was holy ground too.
yeah, and I was there, dude, and it didn't fucking matter.
Did you feel something?
Dude, I get the Jerusalem syndrome. I believe that that's a real thing, man. Like I was at the Mount of Beatitudes on the Sea of Galilee, and I read Matthew 5-7 out loud, dude. And at the end, towards the end of chapter 7, I just broke down crying, like, dude, I don't know. I wasn't putting it on, man. Like that was some
Yeah.
shit. I was right there, and whether it was on this rock or on, like, it was right fucking here somewhere. And the Jews believe that the Temple Mount that is now run, that is it's one of the holiest churches in Islam now. Like, and you have this mix with the Jews, and they think that that's where Adam was created.
Mm-hmm.
They think that that's where Abraham also almost sacrificed Isaac, that's where Muhammad ascended, and that's why it's now a mosque. Like, dude, that's fucking heavy. And this used to be the side of the temple, and David used to live out here, and he shepherded the goats up there, and she's like, whether you believe in the shit or not, man, like,
That's what I was
That's
going to ask
fucking
you.
powerful,
Does it
man.
matter to
It
believe
doesn't
if
fucking
it really
matter.
happened or if
Change the world.
history of it? Yeah.
And the thing is, to me, it's culture, dude. Like all these people shitting on. I get, you know, like the moral reasons why people shit on religion and everything. But
Yeah.
but when they like, dude, this is religion birthed all of culture. There was no such thing as art. There's a sign at the Met that says this wasn't art to them. This was an expression of their fucking religion. Religion birthed culture. And there's so much that you miss out on when you just like, because you don't like institutionalized religion, you know, you disregard the holy books. Like, you know, I hear the docents, and they know when the thing was made and how it was made and how long it took. They
Yeah.
don't fucking know the story.
Yeah.
And when I was leading tours through there, I was telling people, don't read the sign. What do you see? I just took my mom through there, and she's struggling because you stop seeing, you know, like what's actually on the fucking canvas. And if you look, the dude has short hair. Everybody else has long hair. There's 5 guys up against him. There's some chick here in this battle scene for some reason. It's fucking Samson.
Representation.
Delilah.
The
Yeah, you can
symbolism.
figure this out, because we know the fucking stories. Sorry, I lost the what I branched off of that from.
We were talking about like you finding it to be a holy place, or maybe is that too far back?
It is a holy place, though.
Is it holy to you now?
Yeah.
Like it hasn't changed, even though you've changed.
No, like it's that's the temple to
has
me.
that.
Like, yeah, it's more, I take more creative license with like all those words. I mean, to some people I might be blasphemous, but it is literally a holy place, I think.
I was when I was 28. I went to it wasn't just the Vatican, but I went to Vatican City.
Okay.
Wasn't a spiritual journey for me
Right.
at all. I was raised Catholic, but in a very we'll go every once in a while kind of interaction with it. I didn't go to catechism, which was a form of Bible reading where kids could get together and share, whether a nun or a priest would be the one who would read it off. I wasn't raised very, very religious, but tradition was Catholicism.
Cool shit.
Yeah. But it never really attracted me to think of something. I didn't gravitate towards like science. I didn't say, I might have said at one time in my life I was an atheist, but I don't fucking think I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I said I'd
It's a
be more
phase.
like an agnostic, somebody
Right.
who believes in a higher being, because there's difficulty in looking at everything around us, not thinking that there's.
Yeah.
We get into a lot of different things because we could talk about free will, diving into
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
But in a cosmic sense, and I'm right here in what's going on here on Earth, each thing, I have a hard time believing that there's not something indivisibly greater
Right.
for each person, and I think that comes with consciousness. I think that's where we get it. I think that's why we have that.
Made in
belief
God's
in the
image.
yeah, but the Vatican was really cool. I went there for the
Yeah,
art. I
it's
went
a
there
dope
for
place.
the art, if
Yeah.
I could tell you. And I was
Came for
blown away.
inspiration. Hell yeah.
Those bastards stole so much good art through centuries,
Dude,
dude.
the fucking
Tons.
where the Pope speaks from they robbed that shit from the Pantheon, dude. They stripped
did they? I
They
didn't know
stripped that off
Well,
of the
that's
columns.
just down the road,
Right, exactly. They don't need it anymore. Fucking pagans.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's some cool shit.
they've been sort of. I think a lot of organized religions have been bastardized through time.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say there was anything perfect about being a Catholic, especially given more recent. But even that, I think about more recent things, and I'm not going to say like that pedophile shit and all that wasn't true, because I think it was. But I don't know if that'd be a fair evaluation of the belief system.
Yeah.
So, and people have seemed to toss aside the belief system as much as they have the institution
Yeah.
of organized religion.
Yeah, I
And I
think
don't think that's right to do.
right. People always overcorrect.
Yes.
That's what I did when I left the
We've been doing that
cult.
for decades. Yep. I'm
You
sorry,
know-
that's what you did when what?
When I left the cult, I went in the opposite direction, and I went through the atheist phase too.
Yeah.
And then I just started like paying attention to real life, and I'm just like, no, I don't know, man. I think it takes more faith to believe that there's nothing than, like you said, consciousness. If I can think all this shit in my head, where did this come from, and why doesn't my fucking puppy have this shit going on in her head? Why are we so unique in the world and shit like that? Yo, I lost. I started thinking about. other
Let me
questions.
tell you a really funny story.
Yeah.
When you just said what you did, there was a guy out here maybe about an hour before you got here.
Yeah.
He was on a bike and he was like, "Hey, you want to sign this? It's something against the state where they can't spend $1 billion needlessly."
you
$1
mean like they do every day?
This guy had a blunt in his hand that was just crusting and was about to burn his finger.
funny.
He said, "Dude was totally high." But he said, "I don't know if you guys are into conspiracy theories.
Oh,
but
hell
birds
yeah.
aren't real." He bought on that one.
I'm waiting to
He
go
was
down that
selling it,
rabbit hole.
baby.
I've heard that one. I haven't heard the explanation. I haven't
They're
looked
so
into it
good.
yet.
They're robots, dude. They're watching us. That's what he said.
Yo,
But he hung out for like 15, 20 minutes. And I entertained him by hanging out with him for 15, 20 minutes
that's
too.
funny,
Why not?
man.
So,
Yeah, dude. But that's what life is about, man.
Yeah.
Like, and I think people are filtering out too many characters, man, and because social media gives you the option to narrow down the shit you want to see, and that's the only thing that people see. And YouTube's the same way.
I hate that, though.
You can
It
block
gets
people.
shaped. It gets shaped
Yeah,
by our
and
likes.
on social
I like that.
dating apps, you can narrow it by height, weight, gender, whatever.
Yeah.
And people are like, they're losing that appreciation, like you said earlier, for people that are fucking characters and they're different and they're not gonna fit. And if you exclude, you make your search, with all these fucking filters, this person's never gonna bless you. And when I started detaching from this shit, I started meeting these fucking people on the street.
Yeah.
And they're funny. And sometimes they
Yeah.
say shit to me that I'm like, yo, 2 years ago, that would have pissed me off. But now I'm like, you're fucking funny.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting all these cool people, and I'm like, and all these other people are just passing by, and because they're worried about some bullshit that doesn't actually affect their daily life most of the time, or it's not something that you can't,
Quantify?
yeah, I don't want to
I
like
don't know if
minimize people's concerns, but a lot of the people that, a lot of the stresses that people have in their life, like, it doesn't fucking affect you really in your personal life. Like what's going on the other side of the world
Doesn't matter.
doesn't really
Shouldn't
affect
matter.
us. And that sucks, but
Yeah.
that's the way it is. And if the shoe was on the other foot, that's how it would be. That it's only because we're a fucking wealthy nation that we don't have to bust our ass all day every day that we're even like thinking about this shit like that.
Wealthy, 30 trillion in the hole, wealthy? That
You're
kind of
right,
thing?
exactly. Yeah, when you have it
Dude,
to
we
burn
didn't
like
do
that.
though. We didn't do that.
Dude,
That's
we
the way
were
we're
we were
governed.
set up, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a fucking setup.
Just to think that there's even this thing that ticks. Is that in New York City where it has?
Yeah,
that's
yeah. It's
just a friendly
14th
reminder
Street, I
that we're
think.
in the hole this much.
Right.
And do they still? Is
That's
there
fucking
like isn't that
sick.
That's a mind job,
Yeah.
dude. That's
What
a
the
mind
fuck
job.
is that?
Because you're not. I'm not. We didn't do that shit.
Right. Yo. Yeah, man.
So that's where the uprising needs to come in. That's my opinion. I don't know how it gets done where it's not
Communities,
and I'm
man.
not I'm
Neighborhoods.
not saying that it needs to be violent, but
No.
but there needs
Just
to
the
be
fucking
this,
neighborhood says
Right.
we're not we as a neighborhood, all of the citizens of this neighborhood agree, like because
How can that neighborhood get so big though when we're talking like states where
no,
nothing
dude, it's
seems
got to
to
be like, to me,
it's got to be community.
it's just got to be on a community level, and everybody, that sucks, but that's the other community, and they decided to do it differently, and that's, like I was telling my mom, I don't fucking these signs, man, I don't follow them, and red lights, if there's no camera and it's 2 a.m, to me are optional because I'm Diogenes, man. And
Yeah.
I'm making a fucking point, and I run the stop sign because it's just a fucking sign that
totally
some
agree.
asshole put up, dude. An asshole like me decided that that's where you got to stop, and that's why I got to stop when it's 3 in the fucking morning and nobody's out here.
yeah.
Um,
They're
and-
guides. They're supposed to be guides.
Right, the fucking
That's
lines, right? I'm at the Met, and this fucking guard, he's in the frame. I snap a picture, and he's like upset. He's masked, dude. I can't even fucking see his face. He's just in the frame. He's like, "Are you taking a picture of me?" And I'm like, "You're just in the frame. It's not about you." He's like, "Oh," and he runs off all mad. And I'm like, "Dude, look at where we are, and you're telling me to color inside the lines." and then I went to there was a fucking docent. I go
man.
into the pretty girl galleries, starting with Degas and Monet and
Oh yeah.
Van Gogh,
Give me some
ending
of
with
that. Give me
Picasso.
some of that.
And there's this lady, and I'm taking pictures of her hands, and she's also masked. So I'm not capturing your likeness, and I'm not making money off of this. This is just for me, man, for now. And she's like, she stops her tour at one point because I took a few pictures, and she was like, "Are you taking pictures of me?" And I'm like, "No, you just in the frame. Like, I'm taking pictures of your hands." And she's like, "Well, maybe some people don't want their pictures taken." And I'm like, "This seems like the place for it, though, don't you think?" And she was like, still feeling uncomfortable. So I was like, all right, well, lady, you know, have a good day. And I'm like, you're missing the point of this place, man. And I had just come out of the photography gallery, and I'm like, imagine somebody telling Frank Capra, like, I don't want to be in that picture. Like, dude. And it's just because they're fucking used to the lines and the rules, and they don't see life anymore. They don't see like the fucking poetry and the art and just like everyday things. It's got to be, you know, they just, like, dude, you get it. That's why you work at the fucking place. That's why you enjoy that, man.
That's
because
breath.
every day
That's the breath in my lungs every
and
day.
you're not
That's
gonna
the
like
energy.
it every time, but it was fucking different than the last time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you have to expect, is that it's not and something you can anticipate each outcome each and every time.
That's what makes like life
Should
feel
art
longer.
be on walls in museums like that?
Dude,
I've fought with that.
I was just talking about that with my mom. Like,
Does that take away from the experience you should be having?
yes, dude. So there's this like there's the the official name I think is like Ancient Instruments, the Ancient Instruments wing. I'm not sure if that's or classical instruments, but you've got all these amazing pieces that were played at some point.
Pieces,
Yeah,
right?
that
Old
were
pieces.
commissioned.
Yep.
Yeah, you've got like the fucking
Talking hundreds of years.
yeah,
ago or something.
all the instruments that are in the paintings, they've got a painting with instruments, and next to the painting are the fucking instruments in the painting. Like, but I'm thinking like everything says, please
that's cool.
please do not touch. Nobody plays these things anymore, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but at the same time, these nerds aren't doing it for our benefit. Like, they're doing it to get their name on a fucking plaque and to say, I did that. That's fucking mine, and they, even though they open it to the public, like, you got to pay, so they own it.
Yeah.
And they're reminding you of it every time. So I don't know, man.
Are most galleries associated with foundations?
Yeah, it's a big circle jerk, man. A bunch of
it's
nerds
fucking bullshit,
that weren't
dude.
creative enough to do their own art, and this is how they grift off of it, which I get, you know.
Yeah.
But they make it seem like
Understand
like
that
it's
a little
not that.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that it's just for the culture and, you know, for public enrichment, and it's like, no, you nerds own the shit, and you tell us what hours we can see it, and we got to pay you for it.
How long
And-
is art supposed to exist? That particular piece of art, how long should that exist? You're aware of it as well as I am, that there are paintovers by secondary artists on original pieces of artwork too. Now we're looking at something that's being restored.
Right.
And part of me is like, well, fucking don't bother restoring that shit. It doesn't need to.
Damn, dude.
I forget his name. Chinese artist, Wei Wei or Wei Wei.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Wei
Is
Wei.
that it? What is it?
He's the one with the did the sky ladder? No, that's no Wei Wei. He's the chubby one.
Yeah, he's been larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. And my friend Jeff, the artist, turned me on to him. I
Okay,
was looking
okay.
into him years
Yeah.
ago. He would take these vases, whatever you might want to call them, and they were pieces of treasured art that he bought,
Mm-hmm.
and then he dropped them, and they broke and they shattered.
Diogenes, man.
That is fucking powerful. And I'm not
yeah.
saying we need to do that with everything.
Right.
But why are we putting so much value in this idea that it needs to live forever?
Interesting.
That's the way I interpret that action. That's what I did. And everybody might see it a little
Dude,
bit
you would
differently.
have loved to have this conversation with ex-girlfriend of mine that I had in Italy when I was in the cult. She was an architect, and
Nice.
she was always struggling with
Italian
that.
cults, even better.
Yeah, dude. She was like a Catholic Jehovah's Witness, man. That's like the most extreme level there is, man. They go above and beyond all the
Which
rules.
part of Italy?
Cesena, Emilia Romagna, in the northeast by
Northeast?
the Adriatic Sea.
I didn't
Yeah.
get to stop there. I just probably took a train through
Bologna
there,
is
but-
the big train
Bologna
station.
is.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did spend only a day there, but
Yeah, man. No, it was dope. And she was always on the same thing. And I'm trying to remember what she decided, where she was arguing between restoring, you know, ancient architecture and just letting it be. So I don't know, man.
Where do you
I would
fall
love
on
to be
that?
able to phone a friend right now because I'm like, yeah, Claudia, what do you think?
There's no right answer, but it's almost like this attraction to the, not the anarchy, the nihilism of it.
Yeah.
It's the
Okay,
it's
so
only
yeah, I would let it
existence
go.
of-
I would let it go.
You would let it go?
Yeah.
Would you? You would drop it? If you had something like that,
I wouldn't
in your hand,
drop it.
Okay, say you had who you for like two-dimensional artwork. Like? Is there a painting or is there an artist that
Caravaggio's my guy. He's
sorry,
been my Caravaggio.
Caravaggio?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not familiar with.
He did the head of Goliath with David with the head of Goliath.
Shit. What in sculpture?
No,
Or painting?
as a painting.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
the one. He's one of the big chiaroscuro guys. That did the
He played a lot with black,
light and
within
darkness,
paintings,
yeah, like-
didn't he? And then the light comes on the subject matter.
exactly very
Right.
dramatic. It looks like a fucking movie.
Gotcha.
And
Oh, that's a powerful piece.
yeah,
too.
he's like a contemporary of Bernini's.
Would you take a knife to it?
Oof, damn! But to be like to have that feeling, oh man,
Could you take a knife to it?
probably not. But
Who's allowed to? Only the artist, probably, right?
yeah, right.
Right. I agree with that. I don't want to see this frenzy of people going in places
Right,
and
nobody's
destroying.
yeah,
Yeah, I think either. How about the person who bought it?
no.
No. I agree with that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so, man. Like, because that's how they do it right now. The fucking nerds. Oh, I want that shit off the museum, and now nobody can see it. Now it's private collection.
Yeah.
You got to be my friend. No, and even at the Met, dude. Like with the Barnes collection at in Philly, you know, this man worked his whole life. They laughed at him. They thought he was a fucking joke, and he was on to the post impressionists before other Americans.
He had his own art.
He built
space,
his
right?
right
Like
at his
home,
home,
like a big
right.
place,
You had to
right.
go out of the way to go see him, and he was so offended that these nerds thought that he was fucking nobody. He had an eye, and he knew it, and I loved
He
it,
saw the
that
movement
he had
before the movement.
right. He had the
Yeah.
confidence in himself, even though he wasn't from the art world. He was like, no, I've got a good eye. I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and he invested all this money. And he's got the greatest post-impressionist collection, maybe in the world, or at
His
least
Picasso collection, dude. Picasso's an artist who grew on me with time.
Yeah.
As I started to get away from traditional, like a Van Gogh, like a Monet,
Right.
like people who got me into it, or the artists who drew me to it. It was when Picasso departed from traditional and went into this mind meld of like imagery where people say, well, a kid could draw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do they understand what the fuck this guy, the subject matter
Right.
he took, everybody had seen before and decided he would reinterpret it? That's nuts, where it just, circles and dots for eyes and stuff like that, all within this piece. And yet his next painting, and I forget the name of it, but it was about a war in Spain.
Guernica.
With a horse.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
Yes. Now you look at a piece like that and you're like, look at this world these people had to
Yeah, that's
live
nuts,
in and
dude.
endure.
Right.
And who could have captured that but this guy in the same way it was felt? And I've always been a big fan of Marcel Duchamp.
Yeah.
Woman down the staircase or walking down the staircase.
No.
Very futuristic
Okay.
work. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I did those.
that
And one of them all
self-portrait?
have eyeballs or something like that. What do you think?
You got a self-portrait on one of those?
It was.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
that looks like Kerry.
Could never do good self-portrait. I think I have 4 different versions. There is one that was kind of cool. That piece up there to the right, the far right,
Yeah.
was a portrait I did of a guy
that's
named
cool, man.
Bob Russell. Phenomenal artist, somebody who, if he's not creating, it's an unproductive day,
Okay.
and he's that devoted. That's
cool.
pretty wild.
Yeah.
So he went through a phase where he was doing stuff like that, circles and miscued shapes, and within the framework. So I think it was like a 45-minute session. I was in one
Oh, wow.
spot here,
That's
Crazy.
And my friend Jeff was in another spot, and Bob was in this spot. So we were kind of triangular to one another. Couldn't see each other's works. And I'm like, what am I going to paint today? And I look over at him. I'm like, maybe I should try a portrait of him. And those who know him probably see him in it. But again, quite abstract, quite like
that's cool,
loose
man.
interpretation. But those who see it say you painted him like around in his world, and I'm like, fucking right. That's awesome.
That's sick, man. I wish I could get to that. You know, like
Well, I'm just starting out, man. I just realized, you know, like the whole time that I've been around art, I thought it was just a curator type, but now I'm like,
Practitioner,
yeah, maybe,
maybe.
and I'm like,
Took a while to work up to that point, especially since it wasn't an interest of mine right out of like when I was a youth or something.
Well,
I think you
it's-
find yourself attracted to things
Right.
later.
it's actually for me, like it's been attractive for a while, like since I came to New York when I was
How long
19.
ago was that? 19?
Yeah, 11 years ago. I got my card in the mail last year, May 10. I'm official New Yorker now.
Dude, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, man. I know. Cool fucking
That's
different
your life.
world. Yeah.
A lot of like your
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Good for you. Good
Thank
for
you, man.
How do you like Queens?
Fucking Queens is my home, man. You gotta die somewhere. I'm always talking shit that I'm gonna leave New York, and I do want to come to Maine. You know.
I know now you're not going to. I know that.
But you
There
gotta
was
die
a time
somewhere,
early when we
man.
met, I thought maybe you might, and I
gotta
was
die
like, dude, it'd
somewhere.
be awesome if Maine had him. But
You know
I
what?
think you serve a greater purpose, higher purpose by not being here. I'm glad that
I
you come around.
feel that way right now, especially with like the experiences that I'm having in important places, like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, man. Like, it's dude, they fucking talk about me, and they're watching me on the fucking cameras, and it is the Truman Show, and dude, it's so
Where's he
special
going?
to me,
What's
right?
unscripted?
Exactly, and dude, Rubendahl yesterday. He put me on to a photographer, Jay Mizell. I don't know if you're familiar. There's a documentary on him called Jay Myself. I guess it's on Netflix. But I had the privilege of Mike Rubendahl not just like putting me onto him, but giving me his phone, and there are all these messages streaming in. He's getting tagged everywhere, and you know, I watched the trailer on there, and I'm like, dude, it's not a huge deal maybe to a lot of people, but like coming from where I came from, that I get to play this role right now.
Yeah.
I can't believe it, man. I'm so grateful for it.
What's made
And-
that happen for you most in life? Like, this is relatively recent.
Yeah.
It's more a change of mind, change of perspective.
Yep. I think, I don't know, man. It just clicked one day. Like, I just stopped. I don't know, man. I just woke up and things were like, all right, man, dude, you're on your own. You're 30 fucking years old. What are you going to do, man? You're going to be, you know, lamenting that the best days are over. And obviously, you know, to somebody older, I sound crazy. Like, dude, you're 30 years old.
No, not at all.
It's fucking starting out.
Yeah.
But now I get it, and I don't know. I just caught I did a fucking water fast for 15 days, water only. That was what kicked it off.
Really?
Yep.
I haven't heard of that.
Yep.
I mean, I haven't really heard of that. Yeah.
I've done it a few times. I've done it for longer. One time I ended up in the ER because I couldn't stop throwing up bile.
Shit.
But I set it up wrong. Like, I ate wrong. I pigged out the night before and then lived off of that shit food for like 24 days or whatever it was.
Oh, wow.
But I did it
Do you
right.
take any kind of vitamins?
No. Like,
Nothing.
To
It's just
me,
water.
To me, it's only a fast, really, if it's just water. And like, you know, the Jews do it, the Muslims do it, Christians do it. Everybody's done it. Moses, Elijah, Muhammad,
Yep.
Jesus. You call it breakfast because that's what you do all night is fast. And so I got on that train a while back, but I did it this time after, you know, my personal life fell apart last year. And it reset everything, man. Like, it does have like a spiritually healing effect, emotionally, physically, obviously. Like, you can see it eating the shit on you. Like, you can see the fucking white coating on your tongue with all the toxins because it can't push them out far enough. Your eyes are tinged yellow from, you know, your liver pushing all that shit out.
Oh, wow.
And
I never thought of it.
that's what kicked it off, man. Now that I think about it, I forgot about that. but that was big. And 15 days without food, you know, I had all that time, extra time and energy to just think. And like,
What period? I'm sure it's different for everybody. So I'm asking you for like your personal experience. When you go through a fast like that, when through what eh, is it a time period? When do you start experiencing something different that you know you're starting to experience something different within you? Whether
okay,
it's toxins being flushed
okay,
out or a different type of
yeah.
mindset.
So I think like you start to notice the physical effects first. Like after like 3 to 5 days, you see the white coating on your tongue, maybe a tinge of yellow in your eyes. Some people get nauseous.
Got to
They
be
get
affecting the brain too.
right.
A lot.
You said
Like you experience, like at what
oh,
point
and
are you
then like
experiencing
the
this change, this metamorphosis?
I think another big thing you notice is you start to distinguish because after like the third day for me, and most people on the internet say that after the third day for them as well, they stop feeling hungry. And so you start to be able to distinguish between a craving and actual hunger. Like it's super clear. Oh, dude, I'm thinking about that. I'm not hungry because you stop being physically hungry. Everything shuts down, and your body starts to eat at the shit in you, and preserve muscle.
You can't really work out. You couldn't
No,
if you're
no,
not. You know, you
right.
can't like.
Some people do it because I don't know what they're listening to, but yeah, the ideal situation is that you're medically supervised or that you're able to take that time off of whatever else you've got going on in life, whether it's work or school or
Yep.
like you got to focus on that. But if you know your body and you've done it before, like I felt comfortable doing it. I've done it, more extreme before when I was younger and less so now, but I've got experience. So, but yeah, man, I felt you start like dealing with past traumas. It's kind of like a microdose, I guess,
Yeah.
just on your own,
Right.
because you now have all that energy that's not being used to digest anything to whatever else, and you get these bursts of energy. Some people get bursts of creativity, and once you come out on the other side, the longer you go, the more extreme the benefits are. And
The more extreme the benefits are.
yeah, I mean, but you have to like know your body, and that's why they recommend medical supervision
Yep.
or at least dedicating that time to just that. Not to do it for weight loss, because that's where people get really fucked up. Like you got to get what this is. That it has other effects to it. Jesus
Yeah.
did this shit for 40 days for a reason. Moses, Elijah. And so on the other side, like you appreciate food, like the I don't eat salt anymore. I could request I try to not eat salt anymore, because my taste buds work fucking perfectly, man. I don't need anything extra. If everything tastes rich, just on its own, and you've healed your relationship with food. And a byproduct is I shed the pandemic weight, so I'm feeling better about myself.
Right,
And
right.
my stomach shrunk, so I'm not as hungry anymore. I'm sleeping better. Like my skin
Oh, it
cleared
improved
more.
the sleep,
Yeah,
too.
like because it's eating literally all the shit in your body. So even your skin, if you have like blemishes or like I've got these pock marks, it eats away at that too. And then now the toxins are removed from your tongue, and you see the bright pink, and dude, it has all kinds of crazy benefits
Done properly, it's
if it's
more-
done properly, right? And people shit on it, or doctors are ignorant about it because there's no money in it. And doctors have told me I'm crazy when I went in the ER, and they had a point, but I did it wrong.
Yeah.
I set myself up for failure. And they were arguing with me, and I'm like, dude, you don't study this in medical school. You're talking out your ass just
Yeah.
because you have MD at the end of your name. I know more about this shit than you do. And in the end, like I made some disciples of them, but you have to set it up right. Like you can't just go into it, and if you have diabetes or if you've got comorbidities,
Yeah.
you got to be careful.
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
And if you got a a lot on your plate. You know,
Comorbidities. That's a term that came around because of the pandemic. Dude,
a
never
lot
heard
of
that
new,
word
dude. We
before
got
that.
a whole new fucking it's
Language.
new speak. Yeah, new speak.
Yeah, it is.
And you got to use the right words. And dude, it's 1984. I'm like, what chapter of Revelation are we in today, man? Like, you don't need TV, man. Just go outside, dude. It's a fucking
Yeah,
post-apocalyptic dream.
it's. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a shame, but there's a part of me that's also hopeful that what comes of this, it's kind of. I don't think it would be right for me to say, but it's also a fasting, almost a cleansing for humanity.
Yeah.
Could we look at that and
I like
think
that.
positively?
I like that a
about
lot.
that?
Yeah, because that's how I'm seeing it. Like I know,
I
like
mean,
to
I
a
don't
lot
want
of-
to see people perish, but
Right.
ultimately, that's something that may happen anyways. It's always
I
going
mean,
to
it's
happen.
yeah, it's always been happening.
And in some ways, if you're crazy like me, you think it's conspiratorial and that this shit should have never happened.
Right. I mean, and
But-
that's true too. But you know, like
But maybe it needed to.
I'm seeing it maybe as I like that. It's a kind of fasting. I'm seeing it like on a community level, like we were talking about before. Where I don't deal with anything online. If I can't get it in person, cash, I'm not getting it. Do you want my money or not? And whether it's the dentist, and I started that. I don't know if you want to include this in the interview, but like I started that shit during the pandemic, where like, oh, the mask and do you want my money or not? And if they were really insistent, then I stopped participating in the whole
Yeah.
thing. You know, like, I'm
Yeah.
out. And that's how I met my fucking dentist. And now my dentist loves me, and it's the coolest dentist experience that I've ever had. And he has all the cute, you know, dental assistants there, and it's fucking great. And you know, he's asking me like, how do you do it? Because he can't find toys for his kids. And I'm like, I just go in person. I pay cash every day, and I have great experiences. And he's like, you know, that it's just so hard for him. And I'm like, you just got to do a little more work, man. Like, it's annoying to go to the P.O. box. It's annoying to pay my fucking gas bill in person.
Yep.
And
Yeah, it is.
They make me jump through all these fucking hoops, but the more hoops I have to jump through, the more I'm reminded that I'm onto something.
Yeah,
It
you
wouldn't
are.
be this fucking difficult if they weren't trying to funnel you into something. And when that happens, dude, like, this is the government, man. We've seen this movie before, and every time we're fucking surprised. And I'm like, no, dude, like, you might not get it. You can think me crazy, but I'm onto something. It wouldn't make it so difficult if they didn't care about whether you used cash and did everything anonymously. They want to know why did they give you an Easy Pass discount? Because they want to scan that shit.
Yeah.
They want to know where the fuck you are.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give you a discount otherwise. They don't give a shit about you.
No,
Dude.
they don't want that track and trace type of every transaction, every interaction. They want it to be tracked and traced.
People just
So
lie
the
down and
birds
accept
are
it.
Now watching us, man. The
Dude,
birds.
yeah. Yo, he might be onto something,
No, he
man. I'm
might
going to
be.
look into that later.
I was, yeah, you were on it there. God, I got to think of what direction, where I was going to hop in on that. I'll come back to it if it hits me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll get it.
There you
yeah,
go.
I
The
found
spirit,
it.
man.
I found it.
Clutch.
When so like what's going on here in Maine, and I want to talk about Maine cannabis if you're
Yeah,
interested
please.
in a little bit.
Dude, Maine cannabis is the reason why I'm here, man.
It is.
And the
It
reason
is.
why I'm a free man.
What makes it different than other cannabis across America? You could be getting.
That it's
let me say
religion,
this up
dude.
front. We both know. You could get packs from Oklahoma,
Right.
packs from Cali.
Yep.
If this was a game, if this was just about making money, you could get it at probably cheaper because it's reached that point all over the place. Why? Why bother?
Weed in Maine is fucking football in Texas, man. This is religion. Like, dude, I've met you guys. Like, I've dealt with the people. Eric is so fucking excited about what he's got going on. Reed, dude, him and his girl, and like,
Oh yeah.
these people, they have skin in the game.
Yeah.
They know where this comes from. They're excited to do it the right way, and everywhere else, it's kind of watered down. It's become, like you said, you had a great line. You said it went from being a community to an industry.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in fucking Oregon and Washington and California. I don't know the scene in Colorado too much. Barcelona has a great scene. You know, the cannabis clubs out
Oh,
there
yeah.
are fucking dope.
Oh, for real?
Amsterdam has, you know, there's a lot of tourists, but it's still cool. It's cooler than what we got going
A
on
little
in
bit
New
more
York.
touristy now that I think of it.
Right.
Looking back at it. Yeah,
No,
like
Barcelona's
they're totally
cool.
just geared to that.
But Maine is like, you guys, there's such a deep respect, and like some of the stories that I've heard, I don't know how much gossip you want to include, but you know, like Ryan at Mission and Company, at Third Shift Resin now, you know, they had their whole falling out. Somebody called police, and Megaraw, I don't know that guy yet. He found out about it. And these are businesses, dude. Legal. He found out about it. He calls up every dispensary, according to the legend I was told, and says, pull it off the shelf if you want to deal with me again. And whether it's true or not, like, I love that story, man.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter, dude. Like, there's a fucking code and there's a way to do it. And Maine still has that, dude. Where in New York, like, it's the Wild West out there and it's a fun time, but there's no code, you know? And there's a code here, man. And if you live by it and you respect, you know, the history, the culture, and you're true to this, these fuckers help each other out.
yeah.
And that's
Has to be
so
regulated
beautiful.
within the group.
Yeah, and that's
Those
how
who
it
still
should
look
be.
at it as we're people, we're not entities alone, and so we've got to make sure that we're protecting and correcting ourselves.
And you
together.
do, dude, like fucking Frost Factory, man.
Yeah.
He calls it out, dude, and people don't like it, and people get mad, and maybe sometimes his take isn't, you know, 100% on point.
He'll hit and miss.
But he's not afraid. He's one of those guys that is like an OG of the community, and you know, he calls shit out when he sees it. And I love that self-policing, you know, that's how it should be. You don't need the fucking government to come in and look at anybody's shit. Like, people in the industry know who's doing it right and who's getting away with shit and
Yeah.
who's, you know, putting up bullshit. And if the consumer doesn't fucking know that, it honestly,
It's okay if the consumer doesn't know.
it
that
is
shit.
okay, but
That's
to me, it's so accessible.
That they
Maine,
should.
that they could know if they wanted to look that deeply into
The only
it.
way they're going to know about that is if they dive into the metaverse.
Right. But dude, that's where I'm like, fuck, I'm an Instagram
see
influencer
it,
now, dude.
you see
I
it.
can't exist as a weed man without fucking Instagram.
No, sure, for sure.
And you know, I'm never going on Discord. Fuck that shit. I deleted my Reddit. I'm never going on anything else. Like, I already make people download Signal, and you got to follow. Like, and
Yeah.
I think it's such an imposition, you know. But
It's not that big of a deal.
no, not anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm like, whenever I go into a place and they're like, "Oh, to eat here, you got to download an app." I'm like, "What the fuck?"
What?
Yeah.
You encountered that?
Yeah, in New
Oh,
York, man. It's
shit.
Bizarro World. I was in a bar the other day, and I gave the guy a bill, and I asked for change, and he's like, "We don't take cash here." I'm like, "What the fuck? This is New York, bro. Like, what?" In Brooklyn, of course.
They gonna squeeze you out that way?
Yeah.
No cash?
They're trying to, man. I mean, and people don't see it. Like, okay, COVID was a real thing. Whatever you want to believe about that, fine. But can you at least admit that the government always capitalizes on emergencies
Yeah.
to go way beyond what we would normally allow, and they get away with it because we're fucking scared. And in New York, what pisses me off is that we act like we didn't go through 9/11 before. I wasn't fucking there, but I've given tours. I know the fucking stories, man.
Yeah.
And they resonate with me. And I remember where I was in Los Angeles, and I'm like, and that shit was real. But then the government came in and pulled a lot of fucking funny shit off of that, and they still keep signing the Patriot Act every fucking year.
Yeah.
They haven't caught one terrorist from that,
No.
but they're still listening to what the fuck you and I are texting about, or what we're talking about, what
Yeah,
we're
they
emailing
gained
about.
accessibility to everybody, whether or not it's every, you know.
And it's like, so,
They've
okay,
gained
it was a real issue, but you trust the fucking government? You trust this same fucking government? If you're on the left, you trust the same fucking government that you were shitting on for the last however many years? This is the same fucking government. Jin Psaki worked for Trump and Pompeo before she worked for fucking Biden, and now news is she's going to MSNBC.
I think she was at with Obama. For a
Dude,
while.
and
Yeah.
people don't fucking
Yeah.
like. They're having a laugh, man. All of them go for the same fucking parties. Their kids go to school together, and
It's theater.
dude, yeah, and it's just meant to get regular people like you and me, real people, at each other's throats because we're fucking dangerous, man. And if you and I saw past their bullshit, we would be like, you know what, these fuckers. What if we just stopped listening to them?
We're all subject, you can call it propaganda, but we're all subject to a good sales pitch, too.
Yeah.
And so there's a believability and an unbelievability. TV created a lot of TV and TV shows for my generation created that weekly tune-in. And what's going to happen to, I don't know, Fonzie on Happy Days next week? You know, is he going to jump the shark?
Right. That's the one episode I know. Yeah.
Anyways, that's the only one I could recall. I'm more interested in Arnold, the guy who ran the diner. But but we grabbed that, and then well, you know, there were housewives where you had they called them soaps. I don't think they exist being called soap operas anymore or soaps, but I guess that'd be reality TV nowadays.
Right.
You know, where it really becomes a focus for some people to lose their own life and project it into another. Or maybe it's not even that deep. It's just, it sucks your mind out of you for a little while and allows you to invest emotionally in something else.
At least, but I do think you're onto something there where I think it also makes people feel better about their lives.
Yeah.
Because everybody they're seeing, you know, is beneath them in some way.
And worth? Does it give self-worth?
Like
Are we
a false
that
sense
easy?
of it. A
Are we
false
that
sense of
easy
it.
of
Because it actually makes you feel like shit when
But
you
we call
when
it a
you
false
unplug.
sense. What about the ones who are watching it? They don't
But
even know.
I think once, well, I mean, some people are fucking dumb, man, and they don't even think that deeply. But I think people that maybe are a little bit brighter, once they stop, that's why they're addicted to that shit. That's why they got to keep watching. They got to binge watch everything every fucking night. And what's the next show? Because once you stop, then you realize, oh man, I'm back to fucking reality, and it sucks for me. And dude, like, I get it. I was there, man. All last year, the only thing that got me out of bed was working, doing the deliveries, and fucking getting tattooed. And the rest of the time, I was wasting the fucking day looking at Instagram, looking at fucking YouTube videos, bullshit. Not even anything interesting
Did
or
anything
beneficial.
positive come out of that, you think?
Just that, like, I'm
Not
able
like,
to see.
it doesn't even have to be that direct forward, like positive, like I saw some or whatever. Like now you're talking about it as a lesson learned.
Yes, exactly. That's what came out of it.
Yeah.
Right. That I'm like, yo, dude, this is it sucks you in, and it gives you a false sense of self-worth, makes you feel better about yourself for a second, and that's why you keep staying on it, because the minute you disconnect, you're like, oh shit, I'm still living this fucking life. And you know, you just gotta go fucking outside, man. And
Yeah. I had always hoped, and one of the things that I had hoped for when opened up, or the concept of terps, and I'll share more about this later, like what's happening here. Well, the concept I had with terps, I envisioned a place where I thought like caregivers would hang out. And I realized caregivers don't really hang out. I mean, they might once in a while.
right.
But I thought where people could get together and either talk shop or fucking whatever their thing is, or enjoy a smoke together, or whatever that was going to happen. I didn't even really, and not only caregivers, but yeah, I wanted like to know like maybe these people, I call them caregivers, quote unquote, hash makers, you know, extract people, the cultivators,
The
all of
players,
those
the
people.
movers and shakers.
And then you don't even need to own that business. You just have to be somebody who respects it, understands it, who wants to hang out and fucking dig it. But yeah, they're not very communal in that sense, and it's no fault of theirs. I mean, or maybe not. You know, it's more of an isolate. You're always kind of in isolation. You've always been doing your own thing. But I thought there would be a little bit of an attraction, or enough of an attraction to hang out and enjoy smoking a drink, and maybe entertainment. If that's
Definitely,
the
like
case.
for the right people. But dude, I've got an interesting theory that you might like that kind of goes along with that.
Right.
Like part of the reason why I think the nerds are the way that they are on fucking Reddit and Discord and wherever else, they're ranting into the void about people that are, 2-time felons that have skin in the fucking game.
Yeah.
And you're just a fucking consumer. You are a custy at the end of the day. Like, I love his shit, man. I love his fucking marketing, but I think part of it is because this used to be a communal thing. You used to smoke together always, like,
Yeah.
you didn't have money to buy for yourself, so you went in together and you shared whatever it was and you passed it around, and you were schooled according to the culture, and people made fun of you, and they coached you up, and so you understood where the shit came from. Now everybody just smokes on their own, and especially over the last 3 years, and legalization in New York happened during this whole shit. So people are smoking on their own. And a lot of them are starting to consume, on their own. And so they don't have anybody checking them. And so they have this, they build their own opinion of what the culture should be or what weed is about. And then they want to fucking go rant about it. And they see that the other fucker that ranted about his opinion got 200 upvotes or whatever the fuck. Oh, and now he's what do they call him? A top contributor. And now he's a moderator, and look, he gets a procurer of the dank, and they have all these silly titles. Who are these jerks? They haven't done anything. They're just fucking Yelp reviewers. And they're circle jerking each other off because they haven't been in a communal setting, where you learn to develop respect for, other smokers. And some people can only get shitty weed, man. And that used to be the way that it was for everybody all the time.
Always, yeah.
And now you're spoiled, and you think your opinion matters about what Lonely Bones' latest, batch of banana bread is like. And who the fuck are you, bro? Like, do you know how much time this dude's put in?
Yeah, right.
Do you know that he had that fucking beater car, and he drove it from Mass to Maine every fucking day, sometimes twice a day? Like, dude.
Oh, sure. No, the grind and the hustle, and you're very well aware of this.
And
the grind and the hustle is a life that you it's difficult, and that's why you like it.
Right.
That's why you like it, to get to that point. But you don't want people fucking pissing all over it either.
No, dude, like, it's a fucking plant. And you're the reason that shit's on a schedule. Because you get mad when you come up and it's sold out, or, it's coming. So that's the reason it's on a fucking schedule. You created this fucking demand. And now that it's being met, like you were complaining about, now it's this batch, blah, blah, blah. It's a fucking plant, bro. Sometimes the batch comes out a different way, man. It's a fucking plant.
Yeah.
And if it was, if it had stayed communal, I think people would not even be so much focused on the weed itself.
Yeah.
Like, they'd be like, dude, I had a great fucking time. I got stoned. We laughed. We watched this movie.
Remember when we knew that guy who was in the circle where you're passing it around, who would talk with the joint too long?
Right.
Does that
I
shit
think
still
I'm
happen,
that
dude?
guy, but I don't do it anymore because I don't smoke with
Doesn't
anyone
happen
anymore.
like
Right?
that.
Yeah, exactly.
But we all know who that. Well,
Yeah.
those of us who know who that guy was,
Right.
that was the way it was,
Yeah.
for sure.
And to me, it's so beautiful, man. Like, that's where this comes from. Like tattooing, like I wasn't around obviously in the old days, but the guys that I'm around, they put me on, and I like to soak in that culture. And the guy that did my hands, he's the last living link to old school tattooing. He wasn't one of those guys, but he was there
Carried
with
on that
them. Right.
tradition. Yeah.
And he's in Brooklyn, and I'm like, technically there might be better artists, but they don't have this. Like, dude, this is fucking history, and you don't get it. So there might be a better batch of banana bread, by somebody else, but like, dude, like the experience that you get, and you're missing the fucking point, and even sometimes just the fact that they always have to be happy. Like, dude, if you didn't like it, that's on you, bro. Like, it's not the weed man's fault that you didn't like the flavor, that it was too smoky for your lungs. Like, dude, like, why don't you take the time to learn what you actually like educate yourself. They would just want to put it on the weed guy. And that's why I'm running with like the whole marketing thing with the office of the weed man, because this it's not about me, dude. I don't give a shit what you think about me. You can just whatever. It's the office that I occupy right now. I have that same respect for you. I have that same respect for Eric. I have that every time, and I wait, and whatever hoops they make me jump through, I'm happy to go through them, because that's the fucking weed man to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm not asking for anything different. It's not about me. It's for the fucking office. And
Yeah.
once you lose that, the culture goes with it. And this is just a fucking regular thing.
Yeah.
And it's becoming that way with this and tattooing.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Well, so now but are you being selective about what you want to respect and what you don't want to respect?
Yes. Yes.
It's
think
what matters.
Yeah, right. Because it's a different time, and some things are unacceptable. Like, I don't make people wait around for hours, and I just show up,
Yeah, right.
and give them whatever I want. Like, yeah, you get to choose the strain, and I give you a time window, but like, also relax, dude. It's weed. I'm not fucking a pizza delivery driver. I'm not running a call center. Like, I'm still the weed guy, even if it's legal. And just like in
Funny
Maine.
you say that. I was at the Eagles pouring drinks last night,
Yeah.
and they didn't seem to get it when I said, because one of them asked me like, how come like you don't seem to be fazed by anybody here? And I'm like, well, and I said because it's just a drink. That's it. Really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just a drink.
Yeah.
So slow down.
That's great, man.
Things are gonna be all right.
It's great.
And in your life, it's just a meal. And you don't have to rip somebody and try to tear them down just to feel
Especially
better
weed,
that you
dude.
made your point known, And so it wouldn't work on me, and I don't rattle too easy like that. There's
Yeah.
no reason to be rattled about shit like that,
Right.
Because there's so much trivial in the world. If you get caught up in every trivial matter, then you're going to be a lost soul. You really, truly are.
And that's what I see in common with those people that I've stalked them, and I looked through their profiles, and they all rant away about the same bullshit. They're in the same ideological cult, and people that know what the fuck I'm talking about. They all believe the same shit, and ultimately, it's a reflection of them being miserable about their own fucking lives, and they see somebody else that's fucking made it, but where there's an opportunity to cut the person's legs off, they'll do it. And they use virtue as a fucking club, man. I forgot where I heard that line.
I like that, though.
But they use that as a fucking club, and it disguises. You can't call them out because you can't be sure, but that is the psychology behind it. Is like, no, I don't want anybody to see me for what I am, which is a jealous bitch. I want them to think that not only am I a good person, but I'm calling this person out. That's what the fucking Pharisees did to Jesus, man. The ones with the fucking big boxes on their forehead, so everybody could see that I love God extra than you. And that's what the fuck those guys are on Reddit, man. And I mean that. I know that. They've asked me for jobs, and then they turn around and shit on me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't provide them with clean meds for a while. And if you figure out how to get out of here, great, man. Come up to Maine. This fucking place is beautiful. Come meet the people.
Yeah, for sure.
Come meet, the man himself. See him walk out the door. Good for you. But that's not possible for everybody. And it's like these losers that are miserable with their lives, but they're also very privileged to the point that they're just like, come up to Maine. Motherfucker, you're not from New York. That's why you can say, come up to Maine. I just popped a tire, my regular car. And I was in there, and two people fucking turned away because they didn't have a credit card, because they had an expired license. And I'm like, for the average New Yorker, it's a lot of hoops to just get a fucking rental. And you got to have a credit card. And if you're paying debit, they got to check your phone bill, and your phone bill has to be paid off. Dude, I fucking saw this. Yeah, it's nuts. And so it's only like these people that are detached from reality that are like, oh, just come up to Maine. I'm providing a service that is necessary. And when it was convenient for you, you were on my nuts. You were asking me for a job. You wanted my fucking life, and you thought it was nothing to it. And I sensed that in like, I want to do this like you. Oh, you think it's that easy? You can just, I can just onboard you and it'll just be the two of us partners.
Oh yeah.
And dude, they started a fucking delivery service up here from Mass. The people that know, and I have nothing against that person. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if there was nothing to what I'm saying, they wouldn't get in the game the second that they could. And I have no respect for people that do it after it's become legal and they run their mouths on Reddit, but then, they enter the game because they have a little Curaleaf money.
Yeah.
And that, I shouldn't get into that too much, but that.
No, I'm not a fan of like I told you, and get back to it just a little bit. And I mentioned this to some other people recently, is like, if I knew you back in 2019 and maybe early 20, cool. Like, and it's not like I knew everybody, but in my book, you're cool. Like, I consider you somebody who was interested in more than just the financial end of it. And I'm talking about cultivators, and I'm talking about, that kind of thing. Because that transformation that happened in 2020, where all of a sudden we had all kinds of kids who were slinging from Mass and coming up on the weekly or 2-3 times a week.
4 people in the car.
Connecting with, or even, or some people who they put it together, they'd have a connect up here. That guy could buy unlimited amounts, well, not unlimited, but he could have unlimited visits to stores and do that. And then he connected with some guy from Mass. That was a pretty smart move.
Yeah.
There was brilliancy in the entrepreneurship, for sure. So I respect all that. I like that.
Yeah.
But was it only about the cash?
Dude, that's what the shit that I'm on. I've got this little beef.
I dismiss it. I'm okay with that a little bit. But I'll be like, hey, see you later. It's cool. And I could care less if I ever see that again. Where it's more when it's something more to them. That's why I've always respected what I believed you were bringing to.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That really means a lot, because I have fucking continuing education credits for real with weed, man. Like, I've purchased courses. I went to fucking Hash Camp down here at Maine, and I was the only fucking middleman there. And I felt out of place, and everybody else was a fucking hash maker and a big time grower. Fucking Reed was there, Mission Hill Melts, and all these. And I'm like, dude, I'm just a fucking middleman. But yeah, I this is my religion, and you guys have taught me that here in Maine, that this thing is sacred, and I love that about it. It resonates with me. I built my whole marketing around it, and so it does bother me when people, even if they've been like. I've got a competitor that we had a falling out. He doesn't fucking smoke. And that never sat well with me. That he gets to make money off of this, and he relies on his clients to tell him how the smoke is. And he doesn't do edibles either. He hasn't done them in years. And the dude doesn't fucking care about anything other than margins.
Yeah.
And okay, I get it. You got a better price. But dude, you don't. There's so much you don't get, man. Yeah. And like, I would be missing out on these. I cherish these moments with you, dude. Like, our conversation. We've had great fucking conversations. You've taught me a lot.
The last couple of years, it's been awesome. You've never like come on in and said like, I gotta hit the road, I'm behind and shit like that.
If anything, I feel bad that I'm sometimes imposing on you, man. Like, I never like to take up too much time.
Growers for years, so getting blown off or deadlines being met, timetables.
That's funny, man.
Bullshit.
That's funny.
I got used to that a long time ago.
That means a lot.
And I'm a late guy too, so it doesn't much matter.
But you know what? I think that this is just like tattooing, man. Tattooing is a holy thing, and the tattoo gods are for fucking real. I have some stories, man, and the weed gods are fucking real. This is a holy thing, and if you're true about this, like, those people stay in business. The tattoo gods make sure that happens, and the people that aren't, fade out. Like, that's why we connected.
Yeah.
And we trusted each other. Even we didn't know each other from fucking Adam, and we trusted each other. The weed gods, man.
Yeah. Weed gods, for sure.
And so, like, yeah.
Well, that's exactly why this is a little bit more special than, say, the idea of having access to cannabis. Right. Or marijuana, or whatever you want to call it.
People are missing out on.
It's right. It's what they are missing out on. You're not going to get that if the medical or craft main is destroyed, and the state is trying to destroy it. Municipalities are gouging them.
Right.
Let alone the economics of the world are fucking killing it, you know? And it's one of these things where I felt like we were a stronger and more identifiable group of people when we had that going. And we need to get that back for many more reasons than just one.
And that's the fucking point right there, man. That's the fucking point. So if one of the growers or a couple of the growers, few of the growers are out there and what they believe personally, you know, to me, it's like with artists, you know, like we let them get away with everything. Me Too didn't apply to the art world. A lot of fucking social justice movements don't apply to the art world because their contributions were so great that they transcended whatever bullshit we're on right now.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to these dudes, these are it to me, the last cowboys. Like everywhere else, the craft scene has been destroyed. And these
Do we
guys
want to add to that? No.
no, these guys are
Fuck
fighting
no.
the good fight, man. And whether they agree with you politically or ideologically, who gives a shit, man? These guys are the front lines, and you support our fucking troops, dude. Like these are the guys, man. And what a privilege that they come out and they're the ones that package the shit and they wait it out. Not only did they grow it, they they have all this other shit, and then they come meet you and say hi to you.
And they
and
just learned this shit. They didn't know that shit. They learned it because they wanted to be able to do this.
just started putting labels on their shit. You know, they
God, it
just
used to be
figured out
plastics.
packaging.
It used to be all bullshit back in
Dude.
the day. But they did it. They learned it for the money, but they also learned it because they wanted to keep doing this.
These are just homies, man.
Yeah.
And like, dude, you're
at how
missing the
they've done it.
fucking point, man.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that like I didn't miss the point, and that I've been fortunate to meet my people in New York. You know, they don't miss the point. They know I'm weird, you know, and I play that up sometimes, and it's based on a true story, but it is an alter ego. Like you don't know what the fuck I believe. You don't know who I am, dude. I let you see what I want you to see, and you know, some people get that and they see that, oh, he's doing cool shit, you know, beyond just delivering. You know, I want to do shit for the culture, which has been fucking dead, you know, in New York City at least.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've drawn on
No,
so much
here too,
inspiration.
a little bit more than I'd like it to be.
But
A little
you
bit
guys,
more.
like, to me, compared to New York, you guys are, this is the last Emerald Promised Land, man. And I'm like hoping to do with my own, like, now that I'm on my creative shit, like with my own vision, that I hope to like influence the culture in the direction that it's influenced me here in Maine.
I thank you for that. Maine Cannabis thanks you for that.
Hell yeah, man.
I appreciate you.
Hell yeah, I appreciate you.
Thanks for this afternoon, for this conversation,
Thank you, man.
this time.
Thanks for hosting me, for the hospitality.
We'll do it again.
Hell yeah. Thank you, brother.
Thanks.